Welcome to the BigCheese AI Podcast. I'm here today with the same old dudes that I'm here with every week.
Well, hello.
We're out here on Mass Ave on a Thursday. I believe it's the January 23rd. And some unexpected snow today.
We had some snow, not like Pensacola or Destin. I don't know if you guys paid attention to any of those things, but that's been hilarious. Like the beach shots of all of the snow. Like Destin and Pensacola just got slammed with snow. Like almost some blizzard level, like driving down the roads. Imagine that in Florida having that much snow, and it's been hilarious.
I can't imagine what a snowplow was making in Florida.
Oh, God.
Like if you had, like, how many people have, like, there's not many people in the Midwest that even have snow blowers.
No.
Like think if someone had a snowblower in Florida, they'd be looked at as a god.
Well, they'd be looked at as a crazy person until today.
Until today.
I told you we needed this.
Global warming, baby.
All the Midwesterners that moved to Florida then just brought everything. They're like, I've got a snowplow.
Denny, my neighbor, actually. So I'm finally happy to be able to laugh at Denny. But I don't think it hit them. He moved down to where's Mar-a-Lago? Roughly
West Palm Beach.
Palm Beach.
Yeah, Palm
they
Beach,
moved down
whatever.
there. So I'm hoping that he just gets slammed because he was my next door neighbor. Now he's down there.
So today we've got an interesting show. We've got some pretty overwhelmingly big news that we had to cover. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Stargate company that is supposedly being created and supported by our newly elected president and federal government. We've got the DeepSeek R1 Model, which has kind of taken the internet by storm, which is a open source model out of China. Which, by the way, I didn't even know was from China until today, which makes me ignorant. I thought it was something out of academia.
Okay.
In California.
Unless you ask it about the
Tiananmen Square.
Tiananmen Square. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just had a stroke.
It's nerfed.
It's just nerfed.
And we also have just an ongoing discussion about our journey as developers with AI, and it's been an interesting couple weeks and a couple months talking to AI, working with AI every day. For those of you that don't work with AI every day, I don't know. I don't have anything to say to you. It's for the people that do.
You're not listening to the podcast. So
You're
it
not
doesn't
listening
really
to this
matter.
podcast, but for us, all three of us, I mean, most of my friends that are developers, people that are working in my field specifically, are literally talking and working with AI every day. And to talk going back to 2 years ago when we were just talking to ChatGPT, asynchronously. Now it's more embedded in our jobs. So let's just kick it off though. Let's kick it off with the I want to get everybody's take on this Stargate thing. So here's the juxtaposition of this whole thing is we're at the White House. What was Trump inaugurated Monday?
Yeah.
So what was this, Tuesday? Or no, Wednesday? You got Sam Altman, Larry Ellison. Was he even there? He probably was out on his yacht.
Yeah,
Who cares?
he was
there.
Larry was there, looking like the Crypt Keeper.
You've got I will not say his name correctly. The SoftBank guy, a Japanese guy, right? That's the they're yeah.
Chinese?
No, he's Japanese.
Japanese? All right.
Yeah, it's a Mayoshi kind of name.
Okay.
That's Japanese. It's got to be. It definitely is. Anyways, they're at the White House and they're like, and Trump's talking about this $100 billion, $500 billion that they want. So what they're saying they want to do is invest in AI in the United States and make a commitment. And we talked about it a little bit in our podcast last week, which we saw this vague economic report come out from OpenAI. They're like, the economy, we need this to help our economy. But in order to do that, we need lots and lots of your money. We need money, and we need to build these data centers and this infrastructure to support all these things that we're going to do with AI. Right. But the Stargate thing was weird, and they're creating this company. And it kind of, I mean,
Is Stargate the company?
They're creating a company called Stargate.
It's going to be called Stargate.
It's going to be called Stargate. And the money is coming in. The operation, the financial operations are going to be managed by SoftBank, but it says the technical operations will be managed by OpenAI. And I think Oracle providing the infrastructure. That's what they're saying.
Which is kind of weird, right? Because obviously you have so a couple companies that are absolutely have been missing from these conversations, which is Microsoft and Google. Google's nowhere to be seen, in this conversation. Microsoft obviously threw a proxy through OpenAI, but it's kind of curious like where this all kind of lines up, who the company is, are these new models? Is this something? Is my $20 a month that I'm paying to ChatGPT, is that going to go to this? Like, there's so many unknowns, and it is just like, and then you have Elon coming in out of the fucking left field. Like, as soon as they make their announcement, OpenAI does this long post on X about like, here's all the benefits, and then Elon comes in and is like, they don't have the money.
Well,
like,
let's start. Let's start with the money, because the strategy to me is pretty clear, which is, and I wanted to pull up my notes here. The strategy to me is pretty clear around, I think OpenAI wants their own infrastructure and they don't have the money to do it. They lost $5 billion in 2024. They're renting servers from Microsoft, or they're lending them over.
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't have they don't own the infrastructure, and they think they've convinced everyone that they're the only company that can do all this stuff.
I know, but and that's the part that I'm struggling with this whole thing is like, why is OpenAI the only fucking AI company here? Because the fact of the matter is that I've kind of fallen in love with Anthropic. Like, right. Claude 3.5 Sonnet and I now have a very complicated relationship.
Why does the U.S. government, Jacob, need to? Are they picking a winner? Do they need to pick a winner? Like, what?
I think these are billionaires. These are billionaires doing what fucking billionaires do. Right? And it's billionaires being like, oh, well, we care about you. We're going to help you solve this problem. We're going to solve cancer. We're going to do this. Just give us $500 billion, give us $500 billion, and we're going to build all this stuff for you because we like you guys. Yeah. Right? This is no different than Steve Jobs saying that fucking nobody wants video on an iPod. It's a goddamn red herring. And I don't know what it's a red herring of. Well, I just know I don't trust those assholes.
It's always so if you look at what they said, right? Sean was talking about you're talking about job creation.
Yeah.
So what we've heard so far, don't have a lot of details. $500 billion in the future, job creation, lots of
100,000
hundreds of thousands of jobs.
Sure. But but if you did the math, like, what does it actually equate to, and what are these jobs, and like, what's the objective?
There's server man.
Guys, but I'm not seeing the government connection here, because the government's not putting up this money.
No.
This is coming from private investment. And I think that
regulation,
deregulating the whole thing. So basically what the government is going to do is they're going to give them immense green light all what was the first thing that Trump did when he became president with AI? He repealed Biden's risk protection executive order, which I don't think anyone was paying attention to begin with. Which is a similar thing to the EU with less teeth, right? So we need AI to be responsible and not have bias. I mean, there was when 2 years ago the bias thing was really a problem, right? And people don't even talk about it anymore. They don't talk about a lot of that stuff anymore. But I'm lacking to see the government involvement in this. And you would think that if you're, and people just think if Trump talks, it's his money, it's his company, Like, he didn't announce any investment, which I'm actually kind of glad that they didn't. I don't need to pay for OpenAI's profits.
Right.
But here's the thing that, and this is why I had my notes out. This is the thing that I think is what's really going on. And that is, I don't really believe that anyone has the money that's needed to take a big leap ahead in the AI race. I don't think there's enough capitalization or free capital available in the market. And I think the only people that do have it are the Saudis. And that's who no one talked about in this deal. They said SoftBank is doing the financial operations, OpenAI is doing the technical operations, Oracle's going to do the infrastructure, right. and they're going to start with $100 billion. That $100 billion is coming from the Saudis. The Saudis are going to have at least a 50% stake in this whole fucking business.
Why do you think that?
Well, because they're the ones with the money.
I know they have the money, but they didn't, like, Saudis haven't been mentioned in any of this.
Oh, they've been absolutely mentioned in every single article. Yes, MGX. Look it up. So in the first sentence of the press release, of most of the news articles, it talks about a company. They don't mention it the rest of the article. But MGX is the investment arm of the Saudis.
Right.
It's the $1 trillion It's the $1 trillion.
Well, wasn't Altman looking to them originally to help fund OpenAI?
Are they not all looking at them?
They're, I mean, look at they're on the cap table of tons of Silicon Valley companies. Right. They're on the cap table of Slack.
Right.
They're on the company. They own a ton of Slack.
But at one point, he was like, "Oh, we have to raise $100 billion to build power plants and shit like that." And I think a lot of that money was projected to come from
Nobody wants. If Donald Trump sat up there at a press conference and said, we're going to bring in $100 billion of Saudi oil money to invest and own AI infrastructure in the United States, how do you think that would play out in the media?
Yeah, the 100%, right? Like they would slam it.
I mean, wouldn't they?
Yeah,
I mean,
they would.
fundamentally, does that foreign entity have any interest in American job creation?
No.
It's just the next gas. It's just the next oil, right? Like, how can we own the next generation of people, right?
I mean, it's the same thing. What's happening? It's like private equity buying up all the homes in America, China buying all the farmland, and now it's Saudi buying all the data centers and building all the data centers.
And we're all being sold to the highest bidder.
We
right?
are all for sale.
Yeah,
that's it. And that's the worst part. And there's a whole lot of nefariousness, if you ask me, when you start getting into where a government is wanting to build these, I heard they were like literally 1 million square foot data centers that are AI powered, that literally, and then you have Ellison, or what's it?
Larry Ellison.
Larry Ellison.
One of the richest men in the world.
Who's very fond of, like, we could do surveillance with AI, and we could watch the police, and we could watch the people, and we could have this unified, happy little Eden, right? And now he's involved, so I'm just like, oh my God, like, that's scary as shit. So I feel like we're potentially building the next thing that's going to be watching all of us at a level of personalized privacy of destroying AI-driven agents that could literally watch us at levels that we've never even considered.
I have no comment on that, but I think that it's. I think you're off your rocker.
Hey, that's not going to happen.
But what does my mind go to? Where's the job creation? The job creation is in the construction. The job creation is in the real estate. That's where you make a lot of money.
And people who are going to have to maintain the servers and keep that shit up. There's not going to be a single. There's not new creative things that, I mean, again.
But also on the back end, like, okay, they're gonna make near-term jobs, so they could write a report that says, oh, we made 100,000 contractors that built the warehouses or whatever. But the people who are gonna be raking are gonna be the infrastructure providers. So if it's Oracle, NVIDIA making the chips, like, we are probably going to be paying it as taxpayers. The government's going to be like, oh, we need our LLM for our IRS so we can run more efficiently.
Right.
And they're just going to throw money at it.
I think the whole thing, the Stargate thing to me is picking winners. It's giving OpenAI a blank check to build their own infrastructure.
Well, we're going to solve cancer.
And I just don't, like you said before, I'm not sure OpenAI is the best. They shouldn't be picked. They shouldn't necessarily be picked as the winner. Meanwhile, in China, you've got guys with underpowered chips developing models that are on par with O1. So let's just break off to that. So one of the things we talked about in a previous episode was that we basically blockaded China's ability to get the good stuff. Well, they went and did what China does, right? And this is my brief understanding of it. But basically, they built a model, and they're doing more with less.
Yeah. Well, all the smaller models are getting better now. I think I don't have my notes on me, but Llama's like 7 billion parameter. Their newest version, like 3.5 or whatever, is outperforming on all of the metrics and tests their 2 models ago. Right. That was 700 billion. Don't quote me on those numbers, but it's like a tenth of the size model that's performing better than the old one, which is great. We can run that on, as we talked on our last episode, we can run that on the edge. We can run that on device. But as we were talking, that means the larger, like, all-encompassing models are just becoming less valuable, right? Like, there's an open source or smaller model that can run on device. Like, that's a huge threat to these infrastructure providers, right?
Yeah.
And they're making a huge bet So America is essentially making this huge bet on, you know, overpowered AI, centralized AI, right? Where it appears that if you let the free market live out a little bit, you know, the capabilities may be on par. It's a little more decentralized and it's a little bit more focused on the benefit to the consumer and the individual versus having all of this stuff concentrated in one state or one data center, right? And so you look at I mean, I think that people are dumbfounded by this DeepSeek thing because you can run this thing, it's open source. And it's China.
It's so okay. So the
Let's talk.
Yeah. So what was interesting about it is I did download. They have it now with Olama, so you can download it on your Mac and you can run it. So I downloaded the 7 billion parameter one, and I went through and I asked it how many R's are in strawberry, and it went through and so for anybody who's not familiar with the way that it works, and O1 does the same thing. It basically starts off by thinking. And the first thing that it tries to answer is like, hey, think through what this answer is. And it goes through and it's like, hey, the user's asking me how many R's are in strawberry. It's like, well, that's a silly question. Why would they be asking me that? Maybe this is a trick question. And then it's like, I'm going to break this down. Okay, the first letter was blah, 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 blah,
right,
blah.
Which is why when you ask O1 questions, you just sit there and you're pissed for like 20 seconds.
And it's just thinking. It's just thinking. So and they have the same thing with this new reasoning model, the R1. And it thinks, and then it answers. Now, the 7 billion parameter, I just posted it up on LinkedIn. It went through the whole reasoning. It came up with that there's 2 R's in strawberry, right? So, like, it got it wrong. Now, apparently, the 450 billion parameter model won't get it wrong, and that's the one that runs up in their on their API. But the local model does get it wrong. And now it goes through, though, and it's hilarious. If you actually read through it, it's like, oh, well, wait a minute. Maybe there's a trick here.
Oh, so
maybe
in the
it
DeepSeek,
got it wrong.
one thing, no,
It
but the
can't
one thing
fucking
people are
answer.
talking about on the internet with this model is that it'll tell you what it's thinking while it's thinking.
Yeah, and that's what it does. So it basically starts off, the first response ends up coming back as like an XML almost, where it's like thinking, bracket, and then it's like, here's the reasoning, thinking, and now I'm going to give you my answer. So when you actually call these things with your APIs, like you have to kind of like parse that out. Like if you don't want to have the reasoning being as a thing within your experience, then you need to pull it out and like account for that. But yeah, so it goes through its thinking thing. So it's hilarious. It goes through and it's like, well, wait, no, that's not right. Now wait a minute. But what about this? And what about this? And you see it kind of trying to go through to figure out. It's basically like a friggin' 8-year-old who
Isn't sure of himself.
Exactly, not sure of himself, and constantly just like double checking and going, oh wait.
So is
yeah.
it fair to say that the reasoning models that they've put forth to date are basically just prompt layers that are just basically saying, hey, don't just give them the answer right away and go through
seems
your
like
neural
it.
net. Bounce it back and forth
Yes.
like a tennis match until you think until you've convinced yourself you have the right answer.
There's a meme of it with ChatGPT 01, and it was a turbo on top of 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 a turbo, and that's all it really is just okay. Instead of one prompt that we're going to ask it, now go think about this. Now go think about this, and now go think about this, and now now give it. So you might have like 13, 14, 15 different prompts going on to basically give you the answer. So it's not like it's just this magical reasoning that's happening within just a traditional transformer model, that we have the application sitting on top of it that's doing a lot of that kind of like, okay, let's give the model more context as it's trying to answer. Again, the big thing though is that Transformers 2.0. So Google created the transformer model. Like Google created this, and they did not OpenAI completely just took it and ran for the hills, right? So like they made it work. They made like the transformer model is 100% because OpenAI made it work. But Google created it. There's a new one though that Google's created, which is the 2.0 model. And this is one that actually can like, because once you train a model, it's pretty much set, right, in the traditional thing. Like, that's what my knowledge is only stuck at, 2024 or whatever the fuck it says. This new one's going to be able to modify itself and be able to learn and to be able to adapt. So, again, the fact that we have now OpenAI, who pretty much is just using the base shit that Google came up with, 7, 8 years ago, as like the foundation for Stargate. And Google is nowhere to be seen in here. And Google's like, hey, guys, we've created the new version of what the new model's going to be. Like, there's just so much fuckery in this whole thing.
Well, go back to like a week ago. I don't know. Were you guys, there was some stuff on Twitter about how like, Altman's going to D.C. and having a secret meeting with the senators. They must have achieved AGI. Did you see all that stuff?
Right.
Yeah.
And it was like, no, he's going to Washington to convince them to pick a winner and get involved in this $500 billion deal.
100%.
So
He's a grifter.
Yeah.
They're all grifters.
What?
The billionaires are all grifters, and I don't trust any of them. They're all fucking evil, and they just want to make their money, and that's what it comes down to, guys. It's just like, and we'll all be like, oh, look at Elon, he really cares about us, or all these guys, they care about. They do not give a shit about us.
Oh my
they
God.
care about their fucking pocketbooks. They care about making their moats bigger. They care about solidifying their positions, and if we all have to go down with it, they do not care, and we got to get out of this mindset that they care about us.
I think we also, I agree. We also need to get out of the mindset of like the more money that we talked about this last week, but I saw someone on LinkedIn who was like, I won't mention what they were defending, but they were defending Musk.
Yeah.
And their argument
He was throwing his heart out.
Yeah, their argument was, and they said, "Oh, I bet your net worth isn't even approaching 1%." And I was like, who gives a fuck what his net worth is? That's the way you value, like, oh, he must be the smartest person in the world because his net worth is high. Like
I saw that on the LinkedIn Lunatics on the subreddit LinkedIn Lunatics, which, by the way, if you haven't ever seen that on Reddit, is hilarious.
It is hilarious. But so I want to ask you guys a question because we've been talking about the bigger the model, the better, right? Like the people are just trying to achieve this. Like, how can we get the most all-encompassing one-shot model that's like, ask it anything, it gives you the right answer. Google's approach was a little different. I think it was towards the end of last year that it was basically like a gate in, and then it picks the appropriately fine-tuned model. I don't know where they've gone with that. I haven't really checked up on that. But like, why are we still talking about a single model when people are having so much success with fine-tuning it to their specific data sets? Because there's got to be
AGI.
it's the race to AGI.
the race to AGI, because it's not better.
But the race to AGI is not a race that we know the outcome of.
Because they won't get there. Because right now, like, so it's going to be one of those things that's going to be a very defining point in humanity. Like, is that right now we think that if you can just put enough development and enough horsepower, that all of a sudden you're going to be able to generate what happens in the brain, right? And we're talking about things that, like, we don't. I think what's going to happen is that the intelligence is going to be way deeper, way more consciousness just by itself is going to be way more deeper, way more complicated than we ever imagined. And that's just not a phenomenon that bubbles up through a level of complexity.
Right. Well, we've already run out of data that we can train it on. So they're talking about synthetic data. We're at that point. The analogy is like when CPUs couldn't be run any faster. Right. The clock cannot go any faster. The transistors cannot get any closer together or get any smaller. So you have to trick the cache, the L1, L2 cache, all that shit.
It's like how many iPhones can you keep iterating on before people are like, okay, I've seen this before.
yeah. And I'm just like, what do we?
So let's compare this. Let's compare this to our journey though, because I think that basically what we're saying is that there's an argument that we're not close to AGI. Let's go down that path. Okay, let's go down the path that we're not that close to AGI. So every single day I'm interacting with a large language model. It's big. It's Claude 3.5, whatever this stupid name they name it. I don't pay attention to names. It's good for coding. And so I'm building a mobile app right now. You're building a mobile app. My mobile app has happened to be built on React Native with Expo as the framework. Not only could I not keep Claude on task when it comes to staying within the rails of what I wanted it to do, it would completely swap out frameworks on me like left and right. Like, oh yeah, good. Let me just install these 16 different NPM modules.
Let me install Express. And you're wait a minute, wait. What are you doing? Don't install Express.
At one point in the prop, so I was doing the whole like one shot this thing. So I was just starting throwing it away. Like probably 10 times I threw away the entire project and started over, which I think is a good approach when you're developing with AI is try to one shot it, meaning like don't try to like go down the path of when it makes a mistake, have it keep correcting on the same mistake over and over. You'll get stuck in an endless loop. If it's not working, throw the baby out with the bathwater and start over, which is kind of what you did, except for you were doing it for days. I'm more like I have, I think these are talking to me, these are like 10, 15-minute iterations that I would.
Mine was a 64 hours.
Right. Yeah. You're a psychopath. But there was a point at which I'm doing this, and I mean, I had to go, hey, Claude, this is a native app. This is not Next.js. This is not web. Like at some point, and I'm sitting here going, there is no like, sure, okay, cursor is the IDE, and their context is purposefully limited. So there's so many things that I could say right now that I could have mitigated, right, by having better context, giving it a better pre-prompt, doing all this stuff. But at the end of the day, like this isn't AGI. No, it's just really good at. It is really, really good at assisting a human in doing its job better. And so for me, like my journey is all the more reinforcing that an expert in their field is going to be an expert in their field tomorrow and the next month and the next year and the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. Well, it's similar. Like you wouldn't put a junior developer on a feature, a super important feature, and say, hey, start to finish, push this to production. We trust you. Because the chances that they get it right are small, and the chances that they have an issue that propagates to the whole thing are larger, right? But you would give them a small task with guidance. Then I think that's where we're at right now. And we've gone through the whole hype cycle over and over again, it feels like. And we're back to, we're at a higher point for sure. We keep getting to the higher point, but we keep thinking, oh, well, now it's perfect, and I don't need anybody anymore. And then we come back down to reality, right? No. So
it seems like based on what you guys were saying with these big models, you said, why am I not using a more fine-tuned model? Well, why aren't we talking about focusing on, RAG with my data, that kind of stuff, like for companies? And it seems like there's two things going on. One is practical, and one is just a bunch of billionaires trying to make money. So the practical thing is LLMs are here and they help people. They help people do their jobs better. The shiny pony is AGI.
Yeah.
The shiny pony is let's build these let's invest, let's mortgage our entire company, let's mortgage our entire country's future on building this all-knowing God.
But they can't even tell you what the fuck that means. Like, and that's the piece that's the most frustrating about this is that what is AGI? Right, so we have this artificial general intelligence. Okay, great. So are we saying that this is an AGI that is smarter than humans? Okay, what does that actually mean? Because there's people who are fucking smarter than me who can't do things better than me. So, like, what does it actually mean? And that's the piece that I don't think anybody can actually define is, like, when we start going through and saying, what is intelligence? Intelligence is really dependent on the thing that you're trying to solve. Like, the problems that you're trying to solve is how well do you do it? Is it a creative problem? Because right now, you could very well see that if we don't keep designers who are really trying to push the envelope, right? Design stops in 2003. Because every time I just ask, hey, I need you to build me this new interface that does this and this and this, it's going to be modeled off some bullshit that was on Dribble from 2023 that it looks like, oh, I think that's what it should look like, right? That, like, what is
There's no AGI without continued human accompaniment and advancement.
Exactly. Yeah. So intelligence in our model is us. We are intelligence. Like, and they're going to be like, well, this guy's going to be able to think, 1,000 times faster than Einstein. Okay, great. But like, what does that actually mean? Like, what is he going to do with that? Like,
again,
is there going to be anything that's going to manifest because of it?
Yeah. Again, a computer, MATLAB can do derivations a lot faster than any mathematician. You can plot things a lot faster, but it can't figure out why I wanted to plot that in the first place, right? So like, why are we pretending like the computer all of a sudden or the calculator is all of a sudden going to understand applied engineering, Like, what are we talking about?
It will never paint the Sistine Chapel. It never will. Now, it could copy the Sistine Chapel. It could be like, oh, look at that. That's amazing. I'm going to take all of this and look at that as inspiration and take it and do it. But there's this creative element that comes that only that humans design.
Yeah.
Like, we are creators. We create things.
It comes back to what when Ben Affleck was asked about AI. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
They asked him about that. And he goes, my job's the last job that would be taken by AI. The level of creativity and pure human imagination that goes into to making movies is in, like, just because you can make a shot of, even if it's a likeness video shot of you standing on the beach, good luck making a movie out of that someone would pay $15 to go see in a movie theater.
Exactly.
Right? That's not happening.
Right.
It's just not happening. So throw AGI out. There is real impact, economic impact of AI. It's happening now, and it's altering the way we do our jobs. And I do think that there's a net dramatic potential for a shift in white collar work, and
100%.
there already is.
Well,
and that you don't have to achieve AGI to have that happen.
100%. Not every task needs to be Sistine Chapel creativity. Let's all be honest, right? Like,
how dare you, sir?
You're kind of love it. But like at the end of the day, I think what we're saying is like, and this is the problem, is you're about to replace people who have been, this is a lot of their life, their work, right? Is this what will become menial? Is like, okay, what are these people going to do now, right? And I think it's okay to be replaced with something that's not novel, but you're still displacing a lot of people's jobs, and we don't have an answer for that. And I know you guys have different opinions on that, but at the end of the day, we are going to create a system where productivity might shoot through the roof, but
for certain sections,
for certain
sectors,
yeah,
and then other areas that people are absolutely going to get decimated.
Yeah,
there's no doubt. I mean, so to pretend that AI is not going to impact jobs would be ridiculous. Like, we know that it's going to absolutely do it. I think the key for anybody whose job could potentially be replaced is trying to figure out, how is it going to be, and can you be the one who's controlling the AI? Right? Then the battle just becomes for survival, and that there are going to have to be people that have to work these AIs. Like, there's not going to be an AI that just magically knows how to do, like metal bending, right? It's going to need to have a person that's going to basically train this AI. So if you're a technologist, or if you have any passions of technology and you have an ability, realize that you're going to need to now be fighting and basically be like, I'm going to be the guy who's going to be working the AI and training the AI, who's ultimately going to replace my job
I think where this goes wrong, though, and what scares me, and I've never been like an anti-billionaire or anti-market guy, but like I think that where this goes wrong in terms of AGI or the future of work is, if you consolidate all this stuff to 5 billionaires that want to do Project Stargate. Yeah, you just built a system where there's 4 winners and everybody else works for those guys.
And they literally were all there at the inauguration.
It's
and you
like
just
that,
saw them all lined up.
It's like that scene from 1923, the Yellowstone offshoot, where the guy's like, they're like, "What's this?" And he's like, "Well, this is a refrigerator." And they're like,
"Yeah,
what do I need? What's that?" And he's like, "Well, you put your milk in it, you put your stuff in it, it keeps it cold." And they're like, "What's that?" He's like, "This is a washing machine. You put your clothes in it, and it washes them up." And they're like, "Huh?" And he's like, "There's homes all around New York that have electricity. Every home in New York has electricity." And the farmers in 1923 just look at the guy. They go, "If we had to buy all this stuff, we don't work for ourselves. We work for you." And by the way, he was renting them. Because back then they rented those things to people. You couldn't buy it because it was too expensive. Right. So you rented it, right? And it was like, these people were like, I don't want to be, like, the thought of being dependent on someone else was unbelievable. And I think that's one of the, it's probably the hardest thing to come to grips with, which is all this technology and all this stuff that's come out in the last 20 years. I mean, really, all it's doing is continuing to tax the individual every month. So your cable bill, your internet bill, your streaming bills, your this bill, your this tax, your this fee. Right. You know, all this money that you get put in your bank account. I mean, it's just getting siphoned. Yeah. And
I wish so. I'm a cheap Gen Xer, and so like I would much rather spend like 6 months building something, so I don't have to pay $2 a month, kind of thing, right? And I wish though that I wish that we wouldn't have lost that kind of mentality, where it's like, because right now you can build a lot of crazy. You don't have to be a developer. Like, you can be even just slightly in tune with, like, I like to create things, and now with the way that AI works, you can go build a lot of shit that you're going to be able to run on your own. And I know this is completely naive. I know it's not realistic, but I really do have like this deep-seated feeling that it would be amazing if that AI would like empower people to once again kind of get control of their technology, because it does seem that everybody just lets it go and just be like, okay, whatever. You just tell me what I'm using.
Well, we're
what I'm
renting
doing.
everything. It's going back to that same analogy. We're renting everything.
Right.
You don't buy a DVD. You rent the
Right.
right. You rent the right to watch it whenever you want on Netflix.
Yeah.
Right. You don't buy a car. You rent the car.
But
with the
but
land.
let's think about this real quick.
Even if
though.
you own a home, you still have to pay.
Okay, the home is a whole other conversation that we're not even going to get into, because it's a fucking ruse, and we're not. Yeah, I'm not even going to start about the home thing, because you don't own it, because they can take it away from you. It's all bullshit.
And you still have to pay your your property taxes and insurance
Such bullshit
every single month,
Such
even if
bullshit.
you own the house.
Okay, but let's imagine, just for the sake of putting it out into the universe, to hope that maybe it could potentially manifest itself. That what if we could get to a point right now, we're all paying for this monthly bullshit. We're doing this. I set up a bunch of self-hosting things. You have a couple self-hosting things. I have self-hosting things. And basically what this allows me to do is it allows me to basically go and to run these services and to run these applications without having to pay anybody. I paid who do I pay? The German company,
Yeah,
Hertzner.
yeah.
I have a Hertzner server that runs all of these, like my CMS, my different blogs, my different whatevers, and I pay them $13 a month, and I have all of these applications. Imagine being able to do that, but without having to be a nerd.
Yeah.
Right? Without having to be a technologist, and without having to have that knowledge of how to set it up. Maybe AI can empower people to eventually get, like, where self-hosting and AI could come together and like fucking rip this shit out from these corporate hacks.
I think that, well, you know me. I think the government will probably have to get involved. So you know how there's like the right to repair laws?
Right.
What's that?
So like that's where basically like you have to allow a thing to be repairable.
Yeah. Apple
like,
can't stop you from repairing this.
Yeah,
Oh,
like they
well,
used
they tried to.
Yeah,
definitely
exactly.
tried to.
So like imagine how hard it is to replace your battery in your iPhone. Because I was just talking to my oldest brother about this. He was like, we were talking about wastefulness, and like, hey, you have to buy a new phone every 2 years. He goes, yeah, because the battery goes bad. I was like, yeah, and also, do you know how hard it is to replace your battery in your iPhone without breaking it? And that's obviously by design.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because they can make the case a little bit slimmer and blah blah blah. They can come up with all their fucking justifications, but it's because they want you to buy the new one, right?
Yep.
And the DVDs, the same fucking thing, or the streaming platform. I buy a movie on YouTube and I put it in my YouTube account. I can't share that with my family like I could with a DVD.
Yep.
But what I was going to get to, because I'm getting into self-hosting, and I think it's a movement that is happening right now. If you haven't checked out Coolify, or I love Coolify. That is a orchestration layer that basically you install that on the server or your local machine, and you can install all sorts of like self-hosted services.
It's amazing.
A lot of like Docker-driven stuff. So you obviously have to be technical, but not like system admin technical. It's like, hey, have you coded a little bit before? Right. And ChatGPT can 100% help facilitate those things. So what are you running on your local stack?
Dude, I've got all my things. So like every blog that I've got now runs. So any ghost blog that I have is running in Coolify. I've got multiple Directus CMSs. I'm still trying to figure out. I would love for it to be able to replace my Netlify account, where I can just like push up my things and have it just automatically deploy. I haven't gotten there yet.
There's a new one that just came out that I forget the name of it, but I'll send it to you after this, and I'll put it in the show notes. I think it'd be cool if the government was like, hey, SaaS companies, if you're going to provide something, you have to provide a fully featured self-hosted version, for free. Wouldn't that be sick?
Oh God, that'd be so bad.
I don't. Would they do it?
It never
I don't know.
happened.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I don't know, man. I'm in a spot where it's like it's very interesting to see that we now have like all of the top tech CEOs standing there in the inauguration with Trump. And again, I've never mixed my words.
It's much different than the "Don't Be Evil" Google from 2003.
Right? Yeah,
right?
you got Zuckerberg there with his fucking super curly hair, and it's just
Checking
like,
out Bezos's chick or
That was
whatever.
the best meme or use of AI of 2025 is going to go down as the faked video of him looking up Bezos's girlfriend's shirt.
Wait, was it fake though?
I don't know if it was
No,
fake.
the one where so the real video, he just looks and goes.
Yeah,
and then he
she's
smiles
wearing
at Bezos because he notices Bezos is looking at him.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oops, sorry, I just looked at boobs."
She's wearing a bra, right? Or like
yeah,
that,
she's very inappropriately dressed for an inauguration, or arguably. But anyways, in the AI video, it's like he looks over and he's just goes, he just does a full face into the boobies, but I mean, the look on his face was so funny and like just sheepish.
What's crazy though to me is that for the longest time, all of the MAGA people that I would battle with on Truth Social, it was all about the technology oligarchs, and literally every single fucking one of them standing there just in line. Here's the oligarchs of all of the tech companies sitting there just kissing the ring of Trump, and I'm like, how do you rectify this? They didn't change. Like, they didn't change their mentality. They didn't change their desires. They didn't change anything. They're just kissing the ring.
They are all of those companies and all of those people, even Mark Zuckerberg, are all victims of what happens when you take a company public. Once you take a company public, the market drives your company. And if you're not constantly growing, you are trash.
Right.
And so, I mean, Apple's dealing with that right now, which is
but Cook wasn't sitting there. Cook wasn't there. Cook was, I mean, nor was
he was there.
Back.
He was in the background.
Was he?
Yeah, he was there. Yeah, he was there.
Oh, God damn it!
He was there.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah, he was. He was there. He was there.
Never meet your heroes.
He just got out of his let's just be 1% better this year meeting with his iPhone team. Which just real quick, Apple is doing two things. One, they're gonna get into the Starlink business. So Starlink is a satellite internet service provider that Elon started that's doing very well. They're going to do that. They just invested in a company called Globalscape, I believe.
Who shoots their rocket? Who shoots them up into space?
That company that they just invested in.
They're doing rockets?
No, they're doing low Earth orbit satellites.
I know, but how do you get them up into the low
orbits? You call Elon.
Build a big
No,
ladder.
but anyways, but the other thing is, I think they gave up on the Vision Pro way too early. I think it's an unbelievable opportunity, and I think hopefully, what you'll see is everybody that's down on them this January. I think you'll see some stuff come out this year.
So
maybe a cheaper version.
Do you remember the Newton boys? You're all too.
I know it failed.
All right, so the Newton was the iPad. 97, 98, 99, maybe somewhere around there. During the Scully era, and had a stylus. It was awful. Like, it was awful, and it was thick, and it was kind of like Palm Pre-ish.
Yeah.
A lot of the people who worked on it ended up going and starting Palm. I think we might be at that point, like, where we're really kind of. What most people don't realize is that the iPad actually was designed before the iPhone.
Yeah,
right.
We talked about that.
They created the iPad, and I think we might be there, where it was like we go through this whole process of like really trying to discover what is it like to have a new device that's strapped to your head. We realize this big fucking thing that makes you like feel like a baby walking around. Like, that ain't gonna cut it. And I wonder if we're there as a technology with this kind of wearable interface, that they missed the mark, and that they're gonna have to go back to the drawing board.
Well, I think what they missed was the price point and the size of that market.
So it was like 35,
Yeah, I think it was $4,000.
$4,000, like way too much. I mean, it literally has to be like.
But there's a
$1,000.
sub, if you go deep into the Reddit circles and the social media world, there's some people that love it. They think it's the greatest thing that's ever been made.
Oh, no, there's no doubt.
I've only done the
But
demo.
when something's great,
Yeah.
But if especially today, right? Like where people like people don't have a lot of money, people are struggling. That having a $4,000 device that I put on for my masturbation purposes, it's hard to justify.
but then they come out with they do the complete opposite. They come out with the greatest computing device ever made, the Mac Mini M4,
Oh, and you've got one.
and it's the best
But look
thing ever.
it's okay. I think the Mac Mini is the most interesting product Apple has come out with, because think about what they've done. They were like, "Hey, we get it. You want something that's powerful, small, and cheap. How about this?" And cheap relative to their other products.
And by the way, I just
Like,
want to clear the air. When Zuckerberg went on to Joe Rogan and said that Apple hasn't done anything,
that was dumb.
he was full of shit.
Yeah.
They literally reinvented. They're reinventing the entire healthcare system with their devices.
Well, yeah.
Right. They reinvented. They said, "Fuck you, Intel. You guys
Right,
we're just going to
exactly.
build our
They're
own
new
silicon and
chips.
built literally no one can even touch those chips from a
No.
personal computing
No.
perspective."
Did we talk about the AirPods and the hearing aid test?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
That's pretty cool. Like,
And now the rumor is that they're going to completely take over the entire diabetes game with the ability to track glucose levels.
Oh, that'd be cool. Right.
And
Yeah, but Zuckerberg's sitting there being like, they haven't created anything.
It's
well,
like,
he's
what did
sitting
you
there on his,
create?
yeah, other than buying Instagram and buying these other things. It's just like, dude,
does
what
anyone
the
even
hell?
use Facebook anymore? You didn't even build Instagram.
No, I do. I mean, I do just to
That's
promote
because
shit to
you're
my grandmother, who's been dead for 5 years.
I would be happy if Facebook just reverted back to the version they had live in 2005. Like it would be a better platform
it'd be more entertaining
20
for
years
sure.
ago than it
100%.
is today.
It's awful.
All
No,
it is an advertising platform.
yeah.
So funny enough, going back to the TikTok thing, which we haven't gone to, so I don't know why we'd be going back to it.
Go
But
back to it.
we're going to go to it first
Yeah,
with
let's
the
go to it.
TikTok thing. That it disappeared for 14 hours, and then it popped
It's
back
still
up.
not back on the App Store.
Oh, is it not?
No,
Oh,
Google
that's
and Apple have
interesting.
not put it back on the App Store.
Okay.
It's if you have the app on your
Yeah.
phone though,
Right.
they won't remove it.
So I've got it, and because originally when you launched it, it was like, sorry, this app, is blocked, and they dropped Trump's name in there, and then they're like, hey, it's back up because of Trump.
Yeah, they shut down their servers in the United States, and then they just turned them back on.
Yeah, they didn't.
But
No. They didn't shut their servers down, dude. They literally enabled a fucking feature flag. They enabled a feature flag. That's all it was. You launched the application.
You could,
Bloop, bloop.
and some people were able to dismiss
You
it.
could dismiss it. The video, like that initial video loaded, so all the servers were up, everything was running. This was absolutely fucking political theater, and whatever worked, it worked.
Hey,
It's great.
Hey, Job, look up the name of TikTok CEO. Have you seen this?
No,
Have you seen the
You don't know his
congressional
fucking
hearing?
name?
no.
Have you heard the congressional hearing with him? It's pretty.
Oh
funny.
yeah, where they were like slamming on him, and he's like, I'm not in China.
You just said the word China.
Say his name. Oh, it's not TikTok.
Jesus
What
Christ.
the fuck?
I think we just did some racist
Yeah,
shit right there.
we did a racism.
It must have been.
Oh, dude, you broke my fucking PG. What the hell happened here?
So that was definitely racist. But it wasn't me. It was something I saw online. Somebody had posted his name, and it was like Tiki Taki. Tiki O.
So, all right.
So that was
anyway,
fake
going
news.
back. So TikTok comes back. The fact of the matter is what's kind of interesting is there's not nearly as much of the vitriol and like anti-right wing stuff that I would have seen before. I'm not sure what that is. I'm not going to put my tinfoil hat on. That is what it is. However, honestly, TikTok, every other video is now just a sales pitch. It's a product that they're trying to sell you on the store. It's gone to dog shit. I've now actually migrated back to Reddit, and where now I'm back on Reddit for the most part. I just got to figure out how to cut down the Trump stuff, because it's like.
Did you see where on X they just made everyone follow Melania, JD Vance, and Trump?
No,
they just hit hit the follow
on
button.
Facebook too. A lot of people were like on Facebook and where they're like, why am I following this?
I saw that. It didn't happen for
Molly,
me.
so one of my account managers was sitting at her desk yesterday and goes, "Why am I seeing all this Melania stuff?" And she goes, "I'm following Melania Trump, Donald Trump, and JD Vance on Twitter."
Dude, what a fucking
They
wild
fucking jammed.
time.
They fucking jammed the follow button on people.
Okay.
And how many people are gonna? Or how many? They go, well, they can always just go and follow. No one's gonna do anything. Where
They've got us. They've got us so fucking bad, dudes. Like I was like sitting here on Facebook. I requested all my data. Still haven't got the email. By the way, they said it might take a little while. It's been 2 weeks. Well, give me the data, please. Anyway, so I was like, how do I get off of Facebook? Because I barely get on anymore. If I do, get a little enraged, and then I just like, never mind, fuck those people. Right. But still, it's good for old photos. You know, keeping up with family. Oh, it's so and so's birthday, and you can do all of this outside of Facebook, right? Like, so I need to figure out how do I help myself get off of there, and then what's the exit path for other people?
So we actually did this as a family, and so there was a big. Facebook has been a very central part of my extended family of like as everybody, right? Where you keep up with your cousins and your aunts or whatever. But my family has definitely, pretty much since Trump came in, my family became very much more left-leaning. We were always Republican, and then Trump came in, and all of a sudden they all ran the other direction. I'm just like, ugh. But anyway, they're like, we need to figure out how to get off Facebook. And so they ended up setting up just a chat. Now with RCS, right? With RCS, you can do these group chats now that aren't as bad as they used to be when you had that one friend who was on Android that was just like, the sore thumb that stuck out.
Yeah.
That we've actually now set it up there. So what's been great is now I can just go there and mute that, and I don't have to pay attention to anything that they're saying, just as I did with the Facebook one.
Yeah, we have a WhatsApp group with some of my family, but
WhatsApp, Signal would be another one. Like if you could get those people on like these, like the Signal one, I think like Signal for me is but your mom's never going to know Signal.
That's the issue I'm
Signal,
having.
Signal's
It took me, so I am always the person people come to for technology in my family, like printer, whatever. I guess I know how to fix all that shit. Right. But I'm like trying to like convince people to, I'm like, okay, go get the app. And like, I don't want to get an app. I'm like, you've got an app before. You had it. You're on Facebook. I see it. But yeah, it's been a struggle. But yeah, I want to get off some of that shit because it's just it's been bad for a long time. It's
right.
Just,
it does no good for us. There's very little benefit that you ever get from any of it.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and we like to sit and like, oh look, I'm learning shit. No, you're not. You're just fucking. You're doom scrolling. This is bad.
I've been completely off Facebook and off Instagram for a while.
Oh, you're off Instagram.
Oh, I'm completely off Instagram.
That's great.
Yep. I haven't deleted my account, but I haven't. I haven't logged it. I told you I got addicted to watching people make pizzas.
It's annoying as fuck because it is fun to like share your photos and have your friends see. There is a value proposition that existed at one time.
Yeah.
And now it's like, well, if I get on Instagram, they're going to hook me. They're going to show me the video that's like, oh, that's interesting. And then I'm like an hour later, I'm like, oh, fuck.
Instagram's like, Instagram's algorithm just doesn't, for me, like the TikTok algorithm just hooked me like friggin' Coke, right? Like that thing was just like, where the Instagram just barely gets me. The freaking TikTok though, every time
you're edging on Instagram. It's like, yeah, I'm almost there.
Well, we're out of time here. Stay vigilant and don't trust anything that a billionaire asking for $500 billion says. See you next week.